Yeah. $75.
All right, 75.
190.
Pot for this. You know you do. Fuck it, I'm all in.
1140.
Okay, I mean, I'm calling. I'm obviously not holding for 220 more.
I didn't even see that. No, I think that's awesome. You get every bit of it. Yeah.
All right, boys, buckle up because we have one heck of a vlog for you today. There are ups and downs and swings and yeah, it's all over the place. Basically, first hand of the night, let's start off a little slow. Start off with pocket fours. I raise it up to $10. Hijack re-raises me to 25. Gets around to the big blind player. He decides 25 ain't a big deal, so he puts in the call. Middle position player decides to call as well, and of course for $15 more, I'm not going anywhere. It's time to set mine. I put in the call, and we are going 4 ways to the flop, which comes out not too terrible, but not too great either. It comes out king, king, 8. So if anybody has a king, drawn pretty thin. If anybody has an overpair to our 4s, it's not looking great either. So that's why I check. Fortunately for us, action does check around, and then the turn comes that's right, you guessed it, boys, the bink. 4 of diamonds, bowed up on the turn. Oh, it feels so good. And even better, middle position player bets $20. Now, I've bowed it up, okay? I went from praying he doesn't have a king to praying he does have a king. So I raise him up to $65. That gets the other people out of the pot. They unfortunately cannot hang with all this betting and raising, which is understandable. If you don't have a king, you pretty much have to fold here. I mean, if you have aces or something, you can call. Queens, I guess, can call too. But other than that, you pretty much have to fold. And the middle position player does make the call. Even if you have those hands, you're not loving life because either one of us pretty much is guaranteed to have the king. River comes in, it's a jack of hearts. He checks in flow to me since I did raise him on the turn. And at this point, I'm trying to think of how much he has. I'm trying to see because the dealer's hand's in the way, but I'm not trying to be too obvious. I probably should have looked before. Anyways, I do figure out he has around between 150 and 200, and since there's 230 in the pot, my only move is all in. I think he had 150, so I put him all in for his remaining chips. He does think about it for a second, but eventually he comes to the right conclusion and does announce that he's going to fold. I show the full house, take down a $230 pot to start the night, and let's move on to the next hand. Alright guys, just so you know, on the previous hand I had pocket 10s against this same player, and she basically raised me pre-flop and then bet me out on the flop. So that's where we're at. There's a $5 button straddle. I raise it up to 20. It gets around to the middle position player after everyone makes some folds, and she decides to raise it up to 50. Basically on the hand with 10s, I lost around, I think it was around 80 bucks there, just so you guys kind of have an idea of how the chip size stack has been going. So action eventually folds, gets back around to me, and I make the call, and we're going heads up to the flop against Yep, that's right, boys. Up against the mogul again. Flop comes out 5, queen, 8, all hearts. So we flop top pair, but it is a monotone board. She raised pre-flop, so I will check and flow to her. She bets out $50, and at this point in the hand, I don't think I can go anywhere. I mean, queen, jack, we probably could have just folded. That way we wouldn't have found ourselves in this position. But at this point, I'm deciding if I want to raise or just call because, like I said, folding's out of the question. I feel like raising was a little too crazy, so I ended up just making the call. Turn comes 4 of hearts because, of course, it does. Maybe that helps out or maybe it hurts. I'm not really sure at this point. All I do know is that when she decides to bet $150, that I am, in fact, done with this hand. For all I know, we could have been behind the whole time. She could have had pocket kings, pocket aces with a heart on them. I don't know, but queen jack goes up in flames and a $200 pot goes the opponent's way. On to the next hand. Alright, I look down the next hand and I see ace 10 offsuit from the small blind. There's been some limpers, so I raise it up to $15. Once again, when I'm first to act, out of position, I normally raise a little bit more than if I'm on the button or in position of people. That's why it's 15 instead of 10, in case you guys are wondering. With that being said, middle position decides to make the call. Action does fold around to the cutoff player. They call as well. along with the button. So going 4 ways to this flop, 60 whole dollars in the middle that we are fighting for, and the flop comes out 10, 5, 6 rainbow. So we flop top pair, top kicker. Not too bad in a 4-way pot. So I lead out for $30. I was the pre-flop aggressor. I should have the range advantage. I should have the jacks, the queens, the kings, aces, ace 10, things like that. And I should pretty much be ahead of what they have. Now, they could have pocket 5s, pocket 6s, but we can't worry about monsters under the bed all the time. Middle position player does make the call, and it gets around to the cutoff player, who decides that he is going to fold along with the button player. So we're going heads up to this turn in this $120 pot. Turn comes out to 8 of spades for pot control, and also just in case he wants to bluff or anything like that, I decide to check. He does jam all in for $80. And with ace 10, do we lose to a lot of hands? Absolutely. There's a lot of 2-pair hands. The board is much scarier, but I don't think I can fold for $80. So I make the call. There's 280 in the middle, and we're going to a river. I don't know what I need. I don't know if I'm ahead. I don't know if I'm behind, but the king of diamonds comes, and I announce I have ace 10, and he flips over 10-5 because, of course, why wouldn't he have 10-5? I mean, I raised 15 pre-flop, and he called with 10-5. I mean, it is suited. It is suited. Lost $280 pot. On to the next hand. All right, guys. Next hand's a pot limit Omaha hand. Look down and see Jack, King, 5, King. So have a pair of kings. Jack, King is suited. So we have the second nut flush draw on diamonds if it comes to that. With all that being said, this isn't the best hand. I mean, I personally wouldn't normally raise with this hand. I would just limp. So when action gets to me, that's exactly what I do. I limp in for $2. Action does keep getting called because everyone knows any 4 can score. So any 4 cards you have, you could make the best hand. That's how Omaha works. But finally, action gets around to the button player, and she decides to raise it up. She tries to make it like 40, but it's a pot limit game, so it can only be 20. It's okay. We all make mistakes. These things happen. Small blind ends up making the call. Big blind gets out of the way, and it gets around eventually to the under the gun player. Under the gun player decides that they're going to make the call, and then action gets back around to me. Now, I know I said that I don't normally raise with this hand, but given the action and I only have $105 because of all the previous pots, going all in for 105 I think is fine. I can limp and see a pot, but when there's this much action and this many people call, I feel like I'm getting the right odds to go all in and just yellow it and see what happens. With all that being said, the person to my left he's announcing that I took their move. I let them know I didn't take it. It's still an available move. I just happened to do it first. That's all. It's no big deal. We can all do the move. We can all go all in. There's no cap on how many people can go all in a game. The whole table can go all in if we want to. But he eventually folds. Action gets back to the big blind player. I'm sorry, the button player, the original raiser. She ends up making the call, and then it goes back to the middle position player. He has about another $100 over what I have at this point. So instead of calling, he kind of does the same thing that I did, and he decides to go all in. Now, I don't care about the side pot because I am not a part of it. So yeah, you guys are only going to see the money that I am in for on this hand. We're going 3 ways to this board. Button player does make the call, and these are the 2 players in the hand. Yep, that's right. I am against the mogul and the OG. So hopefully I can somehow pull this one out. Flop comes down. It's not too bad. It's ace 6-9 with 2 diamonds, 340 in the main pot for ya boy. Come on, diamond, 3 spades on the turn, and the river is it's the 4 spades. I missed the diamonds. No surprise that my kings are no good. Both players show an ace, so of course an ace comes. They each have 2 pair, and yeah, there's only 2 aces in the deck, no big deal. Of course, the ace of diamonds comes out to give me hope, but that hope is quickly dashed. Have to add on for $300 more, and let's move on to the next hand. All right, I've got my new chips, 300 loaded up. Look down, double board, bomb pot, and see 7, 8, 5, 7 with the 5, 7 of diamonds. Flops come out, and they are Jack, Deuce, 10 with 2 diamonds, and 3, 8, 7 with 2 hearts. So I flopped middle set on the bottom and a flush draw up top. I decide to bet $40. The hijack makes the call, gets around to the middle position player. I'm sorry, I think it's a small blind player. They make the call, and yeah, I really don't want to see a lot of callers on this because there are so many draws. I mean, if you got Jack 10, some people would have King Queen, 8, 9, better diamonds than me, and that's just on the top board. The bottom board, they could have hearts, they could have, once again, 9, 10, things like that. Anyways, middle position makes the call. And yeah, guys, we're going 4 ways to these turns. I just kind of want to see a 7 at the bottom for quads, but unfortunately, that's not what we get. We get 10 of hearts up top and an ace of spades on the bottom. So now that the top board is paired, flush draw, even if it was the highest flush draw, is probably not good, but that's not going to slow me down. I decide to jam all in for 205. The hijack player goes all in for $165, and it gets around to the middle position player. He thinks about it for a second, looks at all his chips, looks at the boards, and decides, yep, this is as good as time as any. He goes all in for $150. And in case you guys are wanting to know who I am against on this hand, here are these 2 players. That's right, boys. We are up against The Rock and the Pro. Now, the Pro, pretty self-explanatory. That guy is just good, solid, all-around player. The Rock needs a little more description. He's jacked. He doesn't have hair. He has tattoos. Not only is he a solid player, giving him the Rock title status, but he, in fact, is Dwayne Johnson's, little lighter-skinned cousin. I'm telling you, this boy is jacked. Plus, he got some pretty cool tattoos. Rock's got cool tattoos. It is what it is. We are all in on these boards. Let's go 2 rivers and win some bomb pots. 6 of clubs up top, 6 of spades on bottom. Doesn't really change too much except bringing in some straights on the bottom. And wouldn't you believe it, that's exactly what happens. The freaking Rock had trip 10s up top, which wins the top board. And on the bottom, he binks the straight. Pro player missed double flush draw. He had diamonds and hearts. Also had queens that he could have hit to have a better boat or a better set. But yeah, The Rock, I think I need to up his luck just a little bit because he just scooped this $685 bomb pot. On to the next hand. Alright guys, been running kind of bad. Hasn't been the best night so far, but we look down, see pocket 10s. I only have about $100 in my stack. I raise it up to $15. Gets around to the hijack. Guys, you see the player right there? Get your hands out the way. Get your hands out the way. That's The Rock, man. I didn't want to tell him to move his hands. I was afraid he was going to beat me up, So the hijack player calls. That's a bar of silver. That's a 1 troy ounce bar of silver. That thing was heavy. Button calls for $15. But anyway, I want to point that out. That's pretty crazy. We're going 3 ways to this flop, which comes 8 Jack 3 with 2 spades. Like I said, I don't have a lot of money left. There's 45 in the middle. I bet $20, and then it gets around to the hijack player, who raises it up to $100. I mean, this guy's got 1 ounce of silver troy in front of him on a poker table. Like, what else could this guy be named other than... Yep, that's right. And because he's the fish, I have no choice but to make this call. So I flick in the rest of my money, $75 in there, builds the pot up to $195, and we are ripping it. He could be on a flush draw. He could be doing this with an 8. He doesn't have to have the jack. I could be far ahead of this guy right now. So we go to 1 run out. Come on, dealer, 1 time. Let's put this fishy out to pasture. 3 of diamonds on the turn and 7 of spades on the river. He had king jack. He wins. All right, guys, reloaded for another 300. That puts us in the game for 900 currently, but don't worry, there will be more. There's a $5 button straddle. We couldn't beat the fish, so I guess we are the fish. Yep, makes sense. Anyways, action gets to me. I raise up to $25. And by the way, just so you guys know, 75% of you are not subscribed. So if you could do me a favor, just click on the little subscribe button down there. It's free to do. We're trying to get to 1,000 subs, and you guys are the only way we can make that happen. Like I said, 75% of you not subscribed. Doesn't cost you a penny. If you enjoy the content, I would greatly appreciate it. Now, let's get back to this poker hand. I raise it to 25. Middle position player calls, and we're going heads up to the flop, which is a pretty good flop. 4 deuce jack. That's right. Bink City. We flop the flush and he jams all in for $70. This is it. We are finally going to get paid. We are finally turning this around. I instantly make the call because we have a flush and flushes are hard to make and this pot is heads up. There's no way it's flush over flush. There's no way. It's impossible. The poker gods don't hate me that much, right? The turn comes to 5 of spades, and the river is the 6. It's the 6 of hearts. He had queen jack with the queen of hearts. So, yep, running good this session. Running really good. All right, on to the next hand. All right, guys, I had lost a couple pots, seeing some flops, so I added on for $500 more. Now we're in the game for $1,400. We are playing an Omaha hand. I look down and see ace, 8, 6, 9, a middle position player, raise it up to $10, middle position +1 called. I decide to make the call with this hand because I do have a nut flush draw plus some connected cards. Having 3 hearts isn't optimal, but it is what it is. Button calls, small blind calls as well, and then everyone else decides to fold. We're going to be going 5 ways to this Omaha hand. Guys, let me know in the comments, do you like these Omaha hands or no? I just play a game that does a reverse button, so there's a lot of Omaha hands and there are a lot of action. So normally they are vlog worthy because it gets so big. Anyways, the flop comes out, ace, ace, jack, middle position player bets $15. I do have an ace, so I am going to stick around here. I make the call for 15, waiting to see what happens on the turn or see if anyone raises or kind of how the action goes. I don't think I should raise right now because if he already has a boat, I'm drawing dead. And yeah, I just feel like it's better to just kind of wait and see. Turn comes the king of clubs. He checks, so I don't think he has a boat. I bet $50. He reaches into his stack of chips and makes the call. Now, straights are possible, and it did bring in a flush draw, but none of that matters when the 6 of diamonds comes on the river, giving me aces full. He checks to me one more time, and I bet $100. He makes the call, and I show him I have the boat. He had an ace, but unfortunately, he did not boat up, and us hitting the 6 caused us to win the hand. We actually would have chopped. He had ace-9 with some unders as well, so yeah, very similar hands. All right, 380 coming our way. On to the next one. All right, we're back to no limit hold'em for next hand. Look down and see pocket deuces in the big blind. Under the gun player raised it up to $10. And I've got to be honest, guys, we've won a hand. We're on a heater. I feel like this is the biggest heater I've been on the entire session. One hand. Let's see if we can make it too. Under the gun, made the call for $10. Gets around to the middle position player. He decides he's going to make the call as well. Cutoff calls also, and it gets back to me. I decide, what the heck, $10 ain't nothing. Like I said, we're going set mine in here, seeing what we can do. The middle position called as well. I don't know if I said that, but we are going 5 ways to the flop. It comes out, bink, deuce, 3-10 with 2 diamonds. I check because there's a lot of people in the hand, and I'm hoping that someone takes a stab since I have bottom set. Luckily, we were bailed out when the hijack bets $40. And now I'm in the position of, do I raise now and spring the trap? Or do I just smooth call and kind of see what happens with the players behind me? This time, I decided to make the smooth call. I honestly think raising here is better than just smooth calling, but I do know that this player, he is the Don, in case you guys were wondering. Same player as in the hand last time. His title card was earlier, but, you know, he can take stabs pretty light. So I figure if he's bluffing, I'll let him bluff. Plus, I don't want to overbloat the pot. The turn comes, he has a diamonds, bringing in the front door flush. He bets $45, which is only 5 more than his last. So I make the snap call because if he has the flush, I think he would have bet more. But that being said, I still don't want to raise him and then he go all in. River comes to 7 of spades. He bets 125. Once again, I don't think I should raise, and I don't think I can fold. So I make the call. He flips over his cards, showing that he did, in fact, go runner for 2 pair. He had A7, so I probably could have raised and gotten paid, but my set's good, and I'm scooping in 470 on the road back to even. Let's go. All right, guys, that's 2 hands in a row. Let's see if we can go for 3. Look down and see a Jack, Queen of Spades on the button. I raise up to $10. The small blind, middle position, and cut off all call. We are going to be going 4 ways to this flop, and the flop is pretty okay for us. Not the best, but it's good when it comes out. Queen, deuce, 9 with 1 spade. So flop top pair with a decent kicker. Small blind bets $15. The middle position player calls. The cutoff player gets out of the way, and I have top pair. I cannot go anywhere just yet, so I make this call. $85 in the middle, 3 ways to the turn card, which is the 7 of clubs. Not the best card, makes a board, you know, gives a flush draw out there, makes it a little more straighty. Small blind bets $30. Middle position player thinks about it for a little bit. You can see him pumping his fist. By the way, this guy is... Yep, the gambler makes the call. Action gets back to me. Once again, I don't think I can fold for this price in the strength of my hand, so I make the call. The person who is betting is the rock. That's the gentleman betting. The gambler's in between us, and the river is the 8 of diamonds. So something that like Jack 10 got there, there's a lot of 2 pairs. There's a lot of hands that beat us. So when he bets $30, and the middle position player decides to make the call, I don't know what to do here, guys. I am getting way too good of a price. I feel like I can't win, but I also feel like I can't fold for $30. So reluctantly, I throw my chips into the middle eventually. I make the call, announce that I have Queen Jack. The rock flips over a queen, but somehow he has a worse kicker that has not paired the board. So neither one of us are showing our kickers. Middle position player, aka the gambler, he's just behind. He's like, what are we, playing chicken with the cards? So yeah, somehow I end up scooping. He had Queen 6 suited, and I went $265. 3 wins in a row. Let's move on to the next hand. All right, guys, for the next hand, we have a little bit of degeneracy going on. We have a $5, $10, and $20 straddle. I partook and put the $10 out there. Look down and see Ace Jack offsuit. Not a bad hand for having a $20 straddle out. I'm not going to lie to you. It's actually a very, very good hand to have in this situation. So when action goes around and eventually it gets to the button player, he makes the call. Small blind calls as well. And then it gets back to me. You know your boy's about to raise it up. I make this $130, and we're going to speed this up because people tank for a little bit on this one. There's $60 out there of dead money that I'm trying to pick up. Eventually, everyone folds until it gets to the small blind player, and he defends on behalf of the table and the people that called. So he throws in $130. This is the Don right here. This is the man, the myth, the legend, okay? This is the man. He's crazy. He's crazy. I love playing with him. So anyways, we're going to a flop of $300 in there, and it is 5-5-3. He checks it, and I check behind because he could have 5 right here. He could have a 3. I don't know what he has, but when he checks the 10 of clubs, it's time for me to take a stab and try to take down this pot. So that's what I do. I go to bet. He instantly mucks, and we are taking down a $300 pot without much contention. Not too bad. Let's move on to the next hand. All right, guys, this is the second to last hand of the night. Make sure you guys stick around till the final hand. There are fireworks. I raise up to $10 in this one. Under the gun, +1 decides to re-raise me to $30. And guys, like I said, The next hand is the largest pot I've ever played on this vlog, so make sure you guys check that out because it is quite exciting. Cutoff does make the call, gets around to the button player, he calls as well, and then we're on to the small blind player. He does not think very long before he decides to flick in his chips for a call, and after there has been all this action, you know your boy is not folding. That's right, I put in $20 more to at least see 3 cards. We are going 5 ways to this flop, very bloated flop with a measly queen jack offsuit. Yep, flop comes out ace jack 3 with 2 spades. So we flop middle pair. I mean, that's something. We have backdoor draws, you know, runner straight, 2 pair trips. We have all kind of possibilities. So there's $150 in the pot, and when action checks around to the button player, he decides he is going to take a stab at this since everyone has been so passive. He throws in $35. It does get rid of the small blind player. I'm not going anywhere. 35 into 150. That's insane. Of course I'm calling that. Under the gun +1 calls as well, and it gets back around to the cutoff player. You can see him grabbing his chips. He is not folding for 35. So now the pot's $290, and we're going 4 ways to the turn, which is the bink jack of spades. Yep, we turn trips. Only problem is it does bring in that front door flush, so I don't want to lead out here and then get raised. I'd rather check call. So that's what I do. I check, waiting to see what the other players on the table do. There's 4 players here. It's kind of, I feel it's a little too risky for me to want to lead out, but leading out can be fine. That being said, action does check through when the 8 of clubs comes on the turn, on the river. I feel like it changes absolutely nothing. I feel like if people had a flush, they would have bet the turn. So I decide now's the time to take a stab. I bet $220 into 290. I probably could have sized down here. I probably could have bet like 150, something like that, but you know, there's a lot of action. That being said, 220 was evidently a little too much because everyone folds. Taking down a $290 pot with queen jack offsuit is not that bad of a result though, so I am happy with it. And let's move on to the final hand of the night. Yep, that's right, the largest hand ever on the vlog. I'll catch you guys there. Let's move on to a final hand. All right, guys, it is an Omaha hand for the final hand. We do have a $5, $10, and $20 button straddle. We look down and see ace 5, ace deuce with ace 5 suited. So pocket aces with 1 suit, also connected on the wheel side. I just smooth call the 20 because I'm hoping someone raises, which is exactly what happens. Immediately, the button raises it up to $75, which is music to my ears because I'm planning on playing a big pot. Under the gun makes the call for the $75, and then action gets to the middle position player. He flicks in 1 black chip to call 75 as well. Oh, everything is going beautifully so far. Action does eventually get around to the hijack player, and he announces he is going all in for his remaining $190, which, once again, guys, this is music to my ears because I have aces. Granted, they're only single suited, and my other cards aren't that high. I'd rather like king, queen, jack 10, something like that in there. But with that being said, how big this pot already is, I can pot it, which is exactly what I do. I pot it to 720. I'm gonna fast forward because there's a lot of tanking because this is huge. I make it 720, hoping to just isolate the hijack player and take down all those extra dead $75 because that's gonna be a good win. That's all I really wanted from this. I wanted to go heads up because if you go multi-way with aces, it is harder for them to win. Everybody knows this. More players can hit cards. With that being said, the button, who was the largest stack, goes all in for 945 effective. He has over $1,000 on the table, but I'm the second largest with 945, so that's why it's 945 effective, because his all in is only as large as the second largest stack, which is me. Whew, we are at least going 3 ways. All of the other players fold, so we are in fact going 3 ways to this run out in a massive pot, guys. The dealer's going to get all the pots right, but I'll tell you what, I'm going to put up all the graphics here. Obviously not the cards, the flops and all that, but I'll put the graphics so you guys can see how much money is actually in this pot, because yeah, it's a lot. $2,230 are in this pot. And like I said, this is the largest pot I have played on stream. Is it the largest pot I've played, period? No, I've played larger pots in my life. I've been playing poker for a while, but it is a milestone for the channel. Let me know down in the comments if you guys are still watching. I know it's an insanely long video, but there were so many hands, and I cut like 8 hands already out of this. I just felt these were kind of necessary hands for you guys to see what happened throughout the night. But let me know in the comments, what's the largest pot you've ever played? I know some people have played massive pots, but let's go to the flop here, guys. The flop is 4-10-3. So we flop a wrap. Any ace, 5, or deuce will get us there. Turn is the ace of hearts. We turn the wheel and have top set. The river's the 8 of clubs, changing absolutely nothing. So we have the nuts. And we're taking down this $2,230 pot. Man, yeah, so he was showing us his hand. He had king, queen, jack, jack, a beautiful hand as well. And that was the button player who went all in over the top. I mean, I get why he did it. It's an amazing hand. Everyone had great hands. But luckily, aces do hold on this one. And we have the largest pot being shipped our way in the vlog's history. Let's go, baby. That feels good. That feels good, especially with how crazy the night was. You know, started off getting stuck 1,500, then turned it around, won this pot. I'll let you guys know how much profit was actually made on the outro. But man, look at all those beautiful chips. I'm trying not to get my shadow on the chips. It's hard. It's hard to vlog and take videos. There's the gambler down there. Oh man, and the Don. He's giving us a middle finger. All in good fun, guys. We had a blast. This was a great night. And yeah, that's all there really is to be said. Let's go vlog. Go on to the outro, see how much we actually made. All right, guys, so that was a hell of a hand in the vlog with. Yeah, biggest hand on the vlog, 2230. That's insane, scooping it. Anyways, guys, I appreciate all the love and support. Started off with 1,500 in debt on this, so that was not a good way to start, but ended actually making 1,100 in profit. So thank you guys for the love and support. If you do enjoy the content, do me a favor, drop a sub. On the road to 1K, almost there, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.